You want to make your sewing sessions faster, easier, and more efficient? I have 5 simple tools to help you do that. Hey, Shawnelle here, bringing you weekly videos to help you get better and better with your fashion sewing and be more creative too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on any new videos. So one great thing about sewing is you don't need a whole lot of tools. You need a sewing machine, some shears, cutting table, some pressing equipment. Well, yeah, you do kind of need a lot of equipment. Never mind. I've been sewing so long, I've just had that with me almost my whole life. So I don't think of them as having to go get them. But don't we love to go to the fabric stores and look at all the new tools coming out and wonder if we need those or if they are worth buying? A lot of them, you use them a little here and there. But I have some sewing tools that I've just been using forever, and because they make my sewing sessions go a lot smoother, they're just ends some frustration. So I wanted to share the 5 top tools that I use to help my productivity. Let's say it that way. Number 1 is so simple, and I have this at every one of my sewing tables for my students, and it's a piece of white paper. It's free too. I wonder if they sell these at the fabric store. That'd be funny. Anyway, what we do with these are, it helps to make the needle eyes a little clearer. So you can see needle eye, well, can you? Here's a sewing machine needle eye. When you put white behind it, you can see them a lot clearer. So if you just hold the white piece of paper, especially, if you're the sewing machine too, or if you're threading the needle, I have a cutting board that's white, and I just put it over the white, and it just kind of helps clear up the metal. I'm going to say it doesn't move, but it's reflection on the metal. It just kind of makes your eyes cross-eyed a little bit. But if you just put it on behind it, you can actually thread the needles so easy. Just really helps. And I put these behind, when I'm threading my machine, I put it behind the needle eye, put it there, because I usually leave my glasses somewhere and then I have to get up and find them. But I always have this by my desk, and I have a lot of them actually. I just have a few because they get lost. This one is like a little cardboard one, so it seems to be staying around a little bit longer. So that is one of my tips. Also, a little extra tip. Make yourself a little magnet flower right here that will hold. I have 1 needle per flower in my school. It holds and keeps track of your needles, and you don't even have to stab it or anything. You just throw it on, and it helps keep track of your needles. So, number 1, white piece of paper. Oh. Number 2 are clippers. A lot of people will have shears by their table, and you got to pick up the shears, put your hands in them, and clip the threads. I know we also have thread cutters on machines. Those are really great, but there's one thing they're not great for. That's actually threading the needles too, by the way. It frays. Let me show you on this. I'm actually got my machine right here. You got the little cutters right there, and when you cut a thread like that on there, it frays. Let me see this piece of white paper right here. Ooh, this one really bad. Look at the fray on the end of that thread. It's all frayed, and that's really hard to put through a needle. But if you clip it right here, so I just clip it, look at that. It's really blunt edge, and then that makes it easier to go through the needle. So in my sewing classes, my students come in and they spend too much time trying to thread the needles. I think that's why these tools really help. And that's valuable time where you're not sewing. You're actually just sitting there trying to thread a needle. So I'm trying to get my students to just thread it. Also, they do have sewing machines. Obviously, most machines out there now have the self-threaders. But I try to teach my students to thread the needle so that they get used to it. It's like learning the calculator before math kind of equations, something like that. But so if you're saying use the threader, I don't know how to work them. And sometimes they'll work for me and sometimes they won't. So I just am so good at just threading a needle like that. Usually the first time I get it, second or third, always. And also just practicing threading the needle will just, you just get good at that. It becomes muscle memory, literally. You can thread them easier and get to the good stuff. So there's these clippers, and then I found these. I've probably had these 30 years, and I just came across them the other day, and they're just so cute. I don't even know where you'd get them, but these I've gotten these ones online. I don't find them in the fabric stores, but the ones in the fabric stores have like a ring on it. They're bigger, a little clumsier for me. I don't know. Then I had a friend give me these clippers. You actually push this down, and then there are these clippers, but these I love using for cutting notches, just the little V's, and it gets right in there, or clipping curves like that. Love those. Instead of the shears, bigger, clunkier. But at the machine I don't use them because then they're open all the time, and then you have to close them. So anything that takes an extra step, it takes too much time. Anyway, so clippers. Then we have quilt pins. So I do fashion sewing, and the packaging on the pins that I love says quilt pins, so you don't want to get tripped up by it, but a fashion sewer can use them. So these are also, the magnetic pin cushions are the best. I've been using these forever. The tomatoes, you get one pin at a time, one in, one out, like that. These, whatever you need. Anyway, but quilt pins are longer, easier to handle, easy to see, so that if you're sewing over anything, you don't hit the needles. Just a lot, really efficient. When I first opened my school, I bought some pins, and I was just going to be teaching kids, and I was thinking, oh, these are too big for the kids, and I never really taught kids before. Never really been around a whole lot of kids, so I didn't know. So I got them smaller pins. I got these like little pins. I think I've had these since then, and I got these, and I never use them because they're so little. They're hard to grasp. They're cute and pretty, but they're hard to grasp. They get lost easier. And why use these when you can use these, right? Also, there's these pins here. They're shorter with the ball on it too, but again, I think I just got really used to those quilt pins. I never used them until I opened my school. Actually, what I used a lot were silk pins, because my career has all been evening gowns, like chiffon and, silk charmeuse and all that stuff. So I used the silk pins, and I love these. I still keep a box of these just for myself, and I put them on my own pin cushion. I put this little cheap pin cushion here. The last box I found, where did I get these white ones, actually? Because I bought these ones thinking the white ones weren't around, and I just found these looking for all my tools. But they come in these blue, and these are just real thin. This one's a little smaller. I think these are probably about the same size. They might be a little bit longer. These are just really sharp, thin, go through thinner fabrics. So silk pins, if you're doing bridal or specialty fabrics like that. I just came across these. I went to Sewing Expo, and they are called magic pins, and I guess they have a little gripper thing right here. I haven't used them yet. They're longer, so they're pretty cool. I might really like these. It was like $10 for this little box that looks like a little coffin. But then they're $20 for 100. So it's like, I think there's only 50 in here. So it must be magic. I have to see how I do with these. I'm making a new dress soon, so I'll use them on there. But yeah, definitely longer. So these I like them. Also, the silk pins, you can iron over them because these are glass, and I believe I read about these are heat resistant, so you don't want to put your iron on them, but sometimes you have to get around pins on it, and that kind of thing. I don't know if I showed you these are little metallic. My students love these with the metallic balls. They're like, ooh, pretty, you know, shiny things. But they love them. But these are just it right here. Just works really well. Quilter's pins. Okay, now one of my other favorite topics is tailor chalk. You can't buy these in the stores. You got to get. I'm so glad. Remember, I was shooting a film in Oregon, and there's a fabric store there. Oh, such a great store. Oh my God, it was huge. I got to go back. They had a box of these. It was $12, and I was like, I love these, because I worked in the garment factory in Los Angeles, and they actually had the one that's called the Colonel or something. It had a white box with it was Colonial or something like that. And but I found this other box here. I've bought many boxes since then, but they're real nice sharp waxes right here. And I used to shop in Los Angeles fabric stores, and they would sell these like 50 cents a piece, and I would just get a couple every time I went to the fabric store. And then I found the whole box in Oregon. I was so excited, I couldn't believe it. But and then Amazon came around, and now you can, you know, get this on Amazon. So what these do now, it says tailor chalk. Actually, let's see. Yeah, and then other words, tailor chalk. It's called Carmel Industries, made in Canada. Oh, and they also come in all different colors. I only use white. The other colors, I don't trust them. So, but basically, these aren't chalk. These are wax. And they must have a little bit of chalk in them, but basically they draw, when they're nice and sharp. I actually go through them pretty fast with the school, but you don't want to use them on the side like this, because you don't want a rounded corner. You want to use the sharp edge, and just, you know, if you had to hem something. Also, some of my students do this, so you can see it. So that's wax. It's going to grind in there. So let me see if I have my iron on. These, the really great thing about this is it irons off. Well, my iron's not very hot. See that other one, but it's about gone. My iron actually is sitting here cooling off. Like always get an auto off iron, by the way, because then you can leave and not worry about leaving your iron on. But this, they disappear right here. And the hotter the iron, they'll go away faster. Right here, if you grind it in, it leaves a grease mark because it's wax. So, Taylor's chalk. Now this is I love this little tool. It's fun. I bought them because I thought the kids would have fun, and then they did have fun with them, and they just kept playing with it. And then it's powdered chalk, and it was ran out. So, but this chalk you have to wash off. And also in the fabric stores they have the little chalks when they're actually really chalk, and they don't come off. They come out with water, but I don't want chalk in my fibers. So actually right here the iron got warm again, and it doesn't come off at all, which, you know, sometimes is good, because sometimes you get to the iron and it doesn't come off. But I think I used to always sew and wear it that day. So I always just wanted it to come off. And the better you get with pressing and all, you don't need it to stay on, because you actually hit the mark as you're going. So Taylor chalks, the wax one, if you can find them in your store. If you're in New York or Los Angeles, Mood sells them by the piece, just about 50 cents a piece or so. That was back in the 90s, so it might be. Actually, it was in Mood recently, and they still had them. Might be $1 now. I don't know. Anyway, our last one is a seam guide, and it's this thing right here. It's a big, heavy magnet in there. It's a pretty chunky magnet. Don't leave them on one of the electronic machines, because I think the magnet might mess it up a little bit. Not really supposed to, but I just love them, so I still do. And what are you gonna do? Right here, how you use these is they go in. Oh my gosh! Okay, see if I drop it. It sits on the end right by your measurements, and if you put it right on your 5/8, or if you're doing a 5/8, and then you feed your fabric through, and it just keeps you in a straight line. really easy. I have a sew bit video. I'll put the link right here on a sewing straight, and I showed you how to use this guide to keep a straight line sewing, because that's another thing my students are, one of their number one questions is always, how do I sew straight? So I always say progress, not perfection. Let's just sew. If it's a little crooked, it's okay, and then straight will come later. So those are my 5 tools. I also have a checklist. I'll leave a link also up here so you can see the video on the beginner checklist. So if you're a beginner sewer, make sure you get your foundation really strong on the basics. I have a 20 list checklist, and I'll leave a link below that you can get the checklist, and make sure if you're taking a class to learn all those basic fundamentals, and if you're learning on YouTube, just make sure, it's a good strategy, kind of hit all those points, and you'll have your foundation strong, and then you go and get to the good stuff. So I'd love to hear any questions you have. Drop me a comment in the comment below, only nice ones. And I'll see you in the next sew bit.